Man, I gotta tell you, there is something so powerful about creating space for your tribe. Kim Napolitano, sitting here with you in this moment, 5 minutes before we hit recording, you about brought me to tears with just some beautiful words that you had given me, girlfriend to girlfriend. Thank you. And thank you for pulling up a seat in this unscripted conversation of just two girlfriends talking. Thank you, my friend, for the way you show up in this world. And for you, you are such a dang gift.
Mm, Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure to be in this space with you, Megan, and to sit and hold space for you. I think that's the beauty of what real, authentic friendship is about. It's, as you say so eloquently, the masks are coming down, but to be able to hold space where a fellow tribes person, whether male or female, can come into the conversation and just be heard.
Oh,
There are shamans around the world that will say, I see you, I feel you, I hear you.
mm,
And how many of us feel so disconnected from the world? For a society that is so connected, we have never been more disconnected from ourselves. And so when you're in this conversation, human to human, and we are so like intentional, completely focused on
mm,
one another, that gives each of us the chance to reconnect with ourselves.
mm,
And so when
mm.
there's that moment when you were talking, I just zeroed in on you because I knew you needed to connect in with yourself. And there are times when you did that for me quite often. So thank you for that.
Oh, girl, that's the power of a friendship. You know, Kim, I love when you said holding space and allowing people to be seen in this optimization of every second. And girl, I struggle with this. I was just struggling with this 24 hours ago as I shared with you, just feeling the overwhelm of
Mm-hmm.
life. Am I enough? Is it enough? Am I doing enough? And this questioning, it is so hard to hold space for others because we either multitasking or we're thinking, I have 75 other things to do. How do you hold space for others? Because you do it so damn well. It's one of your many superpowers. How do you do that?
Thank you. I don't know. I don't want to say it comes naturally because
Mm,
I want people who are listening to this to have some idea of how to take a step forward to make sure they are focusing on that person. At the end of the day, Megan, I'm looking at you as me because
mm,
energetically we are all connected. That you can do the research, it's all available on Google or whatever research site you're looking at about the fact that we represent 99.98% of our bodies are comprised of energy. 0.02% is matter. And so as we are connecting, you and I are connecting in with one another. So how do I want to show up for you? And if that's hard, how do I want to show up for me?
mm,
How do I honor my inner child while at the same time honoring the inner child of the person I'm speaking with? Because
mm.
to me, you are a complete and whole human being. You are perfectly crafted in the eyes of our maker. And
Oh,
so, how do I recognize that and celebrate that to move the conversation forward? Because when I lift you up, I'm lifting myself up at the same time.
God, that is such a mic drop moment, my sister, because isn't it so amazing how you can have a beautiful conversation with someone that you feel this a connection to, and it lifts you up in a way that you didn't even know you needed. For instance, 5 minutes ago, as we
Mhm.
were just talking and having this moment and your friendship and you're seeing me about bringing me to tears in a way I didn't even know that I needed. And so, my friend, I want to ask you, in this world where it's not always easy, especially in the corporate space,
Mhm.
to always stand beside those that are an energetic match, how do you not let others' energy consume you or put
Mm.
you in a space that is not you? Because that shit spreads, that negativity, that stress, that anxiety. How do you shield yourself from that in a space where you're dealing with so many people in this corporate world?
I've been going through some training. I'm passionate about learning how I can be the best leader, the best
Mm,
coach for the people I'm engaging with, in particular, obviously my team, my family, my friends. And so I'm on a journey of becoming an executive coach. And I learned this incredible, like they put for me, it was like the hammer and the nail were meeting as soon as I learned the concept. We all have a specific fear that is driving our lizard brain.
mm,
And if we think, Megan, what is the worst thing anyone could say about me that became public? And oftentimes it falls around the sense of I'm inadequate, I'm not worthy, I'm unlovable, I'm stupid.
mm.
I am what you fill in the rest of the like the word. It's normally one word statement on the back end of that. And if we are sitting in that place, the behaviors we have created to self-soothe are automatic behaviors. And so we sit in this little realm of this comfort zone. So how our life was the past 5, 10, 15 years, more than likely is going to be an indicator of how our lives are going to be in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So with that said, when we're in that space, when someone is like coming at you, it's what we call the survival mechanism. It's there has been something that's been activated in the person, and their storyline, their reaction is a direct reflection of their life story. And so if we can just pull back and be like, okay, first of all, I'm safe. I'm in a safe environment. Hopefully that's the case. I'm in a safe environment and I can breathe. I've got oxygen, I've got water, and I've got a roof. Okay, so everything that to keep me alive for the most part is attainable. The person who's responding to me in a way that may make me feel not good, I I and it's hard, right? No one's perfect, but I make a concerted effort to lean into the fact that they're responding from their survival mechanism.
Mm.
And so I'm trying to figure out what is that survival mechanism? What is it that maybe I said that they are processing through their lens and their output is a reflection of them? Maybe we get so lost in the fact that, oh, it's about me, me, me. No, it's never about us.
Mm.
It's about, the person when you're interacting with them, it's about them. Their reaction, their comments back to you are always about them because their words are being processed through their storylines and their upbringing and their childhood trauma in whatever shape or form that took place.
God, that's powerful. Imagine how that would change the way we communicate with each other
Mm.
if we took that approach in our day to day. God, that's powerful. That just made me flush too. Got my little note card up here. So I practice what I preach. And this morning I took a beat. I was telling you, my girl, that yesterday I was feeling overwhelmed by it all. And I put the phone down at 7 o'clock. I spent time with my man. I slept great last night, read a book, and this morning I created some space to hear myself and do this little meditation. And it had said today, talk about universe, that one, you got to start by being satisfied with what is in this
Mm.
moment. And two, know that if you go into every conversation, we can become so anxiety ridden to have the right answer or to feel like it's a battle or to be right. And when you can reframe that to show up with love and kindness and everything you just said, this awareness of it's not about you, what a gift it is in the conversations that we have. And so I want to ask you, my friend, can you give us like some tangible micro tools on how we can do this in our day to day? Where we can, life is busy. We're on these back to back calls. It's easy to sort of absorb this
Mhm.
energy. Any tangible tools that you do to become aware and use this in your day to day?
Yes, there are a couple of things I implement or I do my best to implement
Yep.
because again, I'm a human being. So there are moments when I may fall off the wagon here and there. First, if you've got at least 30 seconds in between your calls, because I know we are so back to back to back to back. Or maybe you have to dial into the call, leave yourself off camera for half a moment,
Mm,
close your eyes, just take a big deep breath in and exhale through your mouth. And maybe do that 2 or 3 more times. There's so much to be said about the power of breath work and just trying to reconnect you in to that moment in time. And also see if there is an opportunity for you to limit your calls. Do the calls have to be 30 minutes or an hour? Why? Like,
mm,
can it be a 20-minute call? Can we all agree that we care enough about each other? And, maybe instead of going 15 minutes into how great your weekend was, it's a 30-second, maybe 60-second soundbite. Hey, we had a great weekend. We were able to do this, this, and this. And then we move on.
mm.
But to me, giving the gift of time back to someone is probably one of the most precious gifts we have, because it's the commodity that once time's gone, it's gone.
Mm.
So how do you give time back in the day? So that's one thing I try to do, again, through the breath work or through just trying to figure out how can I be more efficient on the calls? How can I show up in a more present moment? Because I know we've all been on those calls and someone comes in late, they've missed, a very important part of the conversation. And then now we've got to backtrack
Yeah.
because they were late. And is that fair to everyone else on the call?
Mm.
Or maybe we look at it like, hey, we're recording the call. If you come in late, that's great. You ping a friend on the call to see if they can fill you in on a couple of bullet points, or maybe look at the transcript that's been going before you start asking your questions. Because to me, that's showing respect to your colleagues, and regardless of rank and file on the call.
Mm.
Like, that's a whole nother conversation.
God, I love that. Kim, as you were talking about time, girl, you about gave me a church service moment up in here. My whole body was like, oh, preach, girl. This has been one of the things that I have been intentional on as of late, or trying, girl, because aren't we all a work in progress? I love how you said, listen, I'm not freaking perfect. I'm just like you. I'm trying. Sometimes I fall off the wagon. So I had a flashback to our original conversation on what spurred wanting to have this kitchen table conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
it made me flash to just last week. Michael and I were driving to see our kiddos, and we had a 5 hour drive. And girl, as is, back to your point, my survival mechanism, this overachiever mentality, this addiction to achievement.
Mm-hmm.
I had my calendar full. 5 hours in the car, man, great. I can do dit, 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 dit. And girl, I opened up that laptop and I had this moment of no, how you really need to spend this time is not optimizing it by checking off these to-dos. It's by making a space to be with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
And so I shut that laptop and I was like, oh, now it felt a little anxiety ridden, but I was like, oh, girl, it was the best. We got to the kids' house and I felt
Mm-hmm.
so much better than I know I would have had I tried to check all of the to-dos. And so, my friend, I say all that to say, I would love for you to share with our community this beautiful gift of a conversation that you gave me several months ago when we made the space to just have an unscripted conversation with a friend. And you had shared with me this moment with your Mike and traveling to see his family and how you had like this aha moment.
Yeah, so we found out at the beginning of the year, of the new year, that his 93-year-old uncle was very ill and in the hospital. So just, right before New Year's, pack everything up, we get to the airport, we're flying down to Florida, doing our best. And sitting in the hot, like, so pre-Kim, or pre all of this and the
Yeah.
effort and the work that I put into myself, I I would have been in the hospital room with my laptop up and running while his bride of 70 years, my uncle's wife, my beautiful Aunt Rose, while she was sitting with her husband, holding his hand bedside. And I said, no, I did not bring my laptop to the hospital. I was fully focused with my husband, knowing the pain that he was experiencing in that moment in time. Because, when we see our loved ones who are so full of life, and he was driving his car at 93, right? Like he and it was just all of a sudden, he went into the hospital. So I said, let me just be here for my husband. I am here to be of service to my husband. I'm here to be of service to my aunt, to show her love and strength, because quite frankly, they have an incredible love story, a
Mm.
beautiful love story. 70 years of wedded bliss, and they were genuinely happy with one another. 70 years of a happy relationship. So to me, that was one of the most profound moments for me to say, as you were driving with your Michael in the
Yeah.
car for 5 hours and you gave him that time, for me, it was the gift of time that I could give to my husband. So
Mm.
he knew I was present with him any way, shape, or form he needed it. I was present for my aunt any way she needed it. And I was present for my uncle in whatever form he needed me to be. So it was probably the best gift I gave, quite frankly, to myself.
Yeah. Oh
And
God, I love
shockingly,
that.
Megan, shockingly, the company still operated, even though I was on PTO. The team still did great with their Q1 numbers. Like the hotels are still operating. Like, huh? Yes, it happened. Life continued, even though I took PTO time to be present with my family.
I love that you say that because my story, back to when you were talking about the lizard brain in your story, my story is I'm not smart.
Mm,
And that is where a lot of this insatiable appetite for achievement comes into play. And
mhm,
so I began to tell myself this narrative of if I don't respond to the thing, if I don't do the thing, then what will people think? And I'm not smart, and then this business is gonna crumble. And girl, it was amazing. That 5 hours in the car, being on plug. Hey, no shit came burning down. Like I love how you said everything still operated, and I was able to give my family the
mhm,
space. And you, I love when you said you, because at the end of the day, that's what it all comes back to, right?
mhm. Yeah. And going back to the conversation of how we're connected energetically, as I'm up leveling myself,
Mm.
I'm raising my own high tides. I'm doing that with, I think there's a statistic out there that says you're impacting 75,000 other lives. So imagine me being in that room just with my husband and my aunt and my uncle and helping to up level them in some way, shape, or form.
I love that you say that because have I talked to you about Sean Accor?
Mm-mm.
So, God, I love this man. Achor, and he has great content out there all around this air quote mythical creature of happiness. And he has done work with Ariana Huffington and Thrive Community. And
Mhm.
what his research has found, to what you said, my sister, that when you begin to work on you and do everything that you just said, take a 30-second beat before you get on the call, understand the person in the other seat and that it's not about you, and to create this space for you and how the ripple impact it has in your life, that
Mhm.
when you begin to work on you, there is a 63% chance that those closest to you will also increase their optimism just by watching you go through this process. Have you seen? I love when you talked earlier about air quote pre Kim, like before I started this hard army crawl of a journey on myself, how I would respond to things to now. Do you see, my friend, a difference in those closest to you as you've done this work on yourself?
I have, but it's been twofold.
Mm.
So from work, my team is amazing. I'm so proud of them. Like I just want to publicly acknowledge them. They are absolutely amazing. And so I've seen how they are showing up in a very thoughtful way. Now, whether we could attribute that to how I'm showing up, I would like to say yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
because as their leader, they're getting cues from me, and definitely from my family and friends. And at the same time, Megan, there have been friends, and we talked about this on our last conversation on the last podcast, that there have been some friends who have kind of just,
Mm.
flown off, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
I liken it to this. I had one of my past executive coaches. She would share, Kim, if you think of your life as a skyscraper, and there are 100 floors on the skyscraper, and you're on the journey, the life quest of just self improvement, growing, 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 and you're up at the 50th floor. Now, keep in mind, you're going to have family members, friends, colleagues. They're going to be all up and down a variety of different floors. She goes, you can go visit, but you may have people that want to keep you down on the
Mm.
20th floor. you may have people that want to keep you down in the basement. She goes, but you always want to be engaging with people equal or higher levels of the floor of elevation of self, because that is how you continue to grow. She goes, but again, there's nothing wrong with visiting, but then up leveling back up. That
God,
you
I
don't
love
want to
that.
get stuck on that floor that you're like, I have already served my term of duty here. Let me get on the elevator and shoot back up to the 50th or the 70th or the 100th floor.
I love that. And what I love so much about that, Kim, Michael had shared this about me. I will love you and love you and love you. But then when I feel like we are not aligned or I feel like something may have transpired in the relationship, then I'm like, see ya. And I don't come back down. I take that elevator and I don't come back down. And that can really do a disservice to a relationship, but you don't need to be all or nothing. Like
Yeah.
you can't, right? Like you can go down, take the elevator down, say hello, spend a hot minute, but
Mhm.
girl, get your ass on that elevator when it's time to go to get back up. You don't need to stay there.
Yeah.
Kim, that makes me want to ask you. I had wrote this down earlier because I love this. You and I talk a lot about being intentional on who you surround yourself with on and offline and the power of a hype tribe and being really much aware of that. When I say those words, hype tribe, and being intentional on who you surround yourself with on and offline, what does that mean to you and how do you do that in your life?
It's, I call them your board of directors.
Mm,
I think everyone needs to have a board of directors, and your board of directors may be one person, and that's a-okay. You may have a board of directors of 55 people. Again, that's a-okay. We all interact with people differently. We all have different requirements for connection in.
mm,
We all need to be connected. Like,
mm-hmm,
that's the thing that we learned through COVID. I mean, that's why, the revenge travel and the blended travel is still so strong. We took away that ability to travel and see the world. And now more than ever, again, blended travel, leisure travel, however you want to refer to it, is still very strong. So for me, it's reaching out to my board of directors, and it doesn't need to be every day. Sometimes it's a call once every 6 months. Hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Like, there's no judgment in when we connect. But I know if I get a call at 3 in the morning from one of my board of directors, I'm up. What do you need? Where are you at? Do I need to fly to get you? Do you need money deposited? Like, what do you need? What can I do to be of service to you?
You know what I love so much? I was just writing down here that you do so well. This is one of your many superpowers. You are so great on just checking in with your tribe. There are so many times that you will send me a message, and it can come in a variety of formats, whether it's a voice message, whether it's an email, whether it's a text message, whether it's a LinkedIn message. Doesn't matter the prescriptive form. And you will always say something that I really needed and always so authentic and not contingent on an ask. Always, hey, just I'm thinking of you, couple hearts, heard this, thought of you, want to make this connection for you. And I love the fact that think about our air quote friendships in a
Mhm.
day and how many of them are contingent based on an outcome of wanting something
Completely.
versus the authentic friendships that are really built on caring for each other and then the beautiful ripple impact that happens.
And I think that, Megan, that's where people get lost. They
Mm,
look at their followers on different social feeds. They are looking at all the people they know at a company that they work with, and but they may feel completely disconnected because there are friends, there's family of the heart, right? These
mm,
are the family members you get to pick, right? You're like, okay, she's going to my heart, she's long term.
yeah.
Then there are friends, and then there are acquaintances.
Mm,
And I think oftentimes people lose sight, or they kind of cloud or blur the lines between an acquaintance and a friend. And if you
mm,
liken it to this, anyone who has either left a job, or like maybe it's school, right? Because college graduation, big season, right? So everyone, that's my feed because my daughter's graduating on Friday. Super excited.
yay!
So, but I'm seeing now, so, obviously many of my friends have kids that are very close to her age. So now It's whether it's high school graduation or college graduation. Now I'm seeing all the feed. And this just reminds me when we were in college or when we were in high school, and then maybe if you went on to college, oh, we're going to be best friends forever, we're going to stay in contact, and they're no longer there.
Mm,
They were friends for the moment.
mm,
I think if we can just come to a place of non-judgment,
mm,
that you have friends for the moment, and don't lose sight of, you could easily blur lines between work acquaintances where there is some sort of measurable outcome that's you give, I take, you give type thing,
mhm,
versus what a friend is. And if you can just clearly identify who's what in what swim lane, then that allows you to be very intentional with how you are now treating your family of the heart, your friends, and your friends, whether they're short-term or long-term friendship.
I love that. You know, as you were talking beautifully about the morphing of friendships and how they change as you continue to evolve and change, I had this whole flash, my sister. I was just talking to these beautiful humans of Rutgers the other week, and we were talking about this next generation of leaders coming into the workforce and Gen Z, so age 11 to 26, and how they've been socialized differently than we have. You know, when we were coming up through the ranks, there were these built-in human connection moments that happened organically in the office or the happy hours or by the coffee machine, and they just were created for us
Mhm.
because that's how we operated and did business. And now in this digital world, which has a beautiful gift of it, a flexibility and connecting across the globe and all of these things, I find that there is this barrier of this social anxiety for this generation because they haven't really been taught how to talk beyond the screen. And
Yeah.
so, for our listeners, whether they're a mother, whether they are in that Gen Z age bracket, maybe they want to share this with their team in that Gen
Mhm.
Z age bracket, what's your recommendation on building friendships, building your board when you've never really been taught how to have this social connection, when you have this sort of social anxiety that exists in today's world?
Yeah. Megan, I wish I was a social psychologist or had the background to say these are the 20 steps you need to take. From my humble perspective, I would say just start with one person.
Mm, mm,
And I would also say because there so many people get lost in the social feed and the need to be perfect, and it's impossible because society's putting these constraints on us, but we may not have been designed by the higher power to be what the current standard is.
mm,
So if we could come from a place of just accepting each other as this perfect, beautiful Buddha light, the beautiful essence. Like when I talk with you, Megan, I see the essence of the fact that you are a connector. You are
mm,
someone who brings such joy to people you engage with. When you walk in a room, you give such peace of body, mind, spirit, soul, because you are standing proudly, boldly, unapologetically in the space of owning your power,
mm,
of helping people to see you're not the only human being who has these thoughts or emotions. I'm number one. I'm right by your side. I'm your best girlfriend right
mm.
now because I've been there, done it. You can't say anything worse to yourself than I've already said to myself. Like you're owning that. But when you come into that space, it allows people the ability to exhale. It
Mm,
allows people to, for probably one of the first times in many, many, many years, to feel seen and to feel heard and to feel like they have someone who really gets them.
mm,
The I see you, I feel you, I hear you.
mm,
So for the Gen Zers out there, I would just say start with one person. For the parents of the Gen Zers, I would just say just hold space for your children. And you know what? Get off your phone at the dinner table, parent.
mm,
Stop demonstrating behavior that you expect your children to do something different. do we want, so I saw Jason Dorsey speak at one of our events. He was phenomenal, and he is a research expert, and he talks about generations.
Hmm.
And the one of the many things that really just I found profound, one of the number one impact to any generation, what causes that generation to show up the way they show up, do you know what that number one factor is?
What?
How they were raised. It's the parenting.
Ooh,
Why? Because we were raised in a certain way. So we want to give to our children things that we did not have because we're trying to overcome that lizard commentary
mm,
and say, you know what? Whatever that commentary is, I'm going to do better for my child. So we're coming from a place of good.
yeah,
We are. But is it best serving the child? Now, I have no judgment on tiger moms. Like, you do you, boo. Like, you do you. How well, and are you best serving your child when you helicopter over them? Because when they get their first rejection in the business world, are you going to be there and have a conference call with their leader as to why they were told whatever they were told?
mm,
Are you going to be there to help negotiate their annual review or their offer letter? Like, at what point do we allow our 20-something-year-old children to be adults? We can go
yeah.
down a rabbit hole on this, and listen, we can bring my kids on the next podcast. You can see, oh, I see where Kim went wrong,
Let's do have a Napolitano family podcast
but all
episode.
joking aside, I know we all come from a place of love. And instead of throwing fingers and pointing fingers at
Mm,
different generations, you didn't, you didn't, you didn't, let's celebrate the uniqueness that each generation brings through. And let's, when we're talking with someone within that generation, honor them in a way that best recognizes them for how they are showing up.
mm.
He also mentioned something about millennials because he's like, that they're my people, they're my people.
Yeah.
And he said, we're not tech savvy, we're tech dependent.
Ooh. Ooh,
Girl,
talk
he,
about
you're
bumper
gonna love
bumper
him. If
sticker.
you have got to hear this guy speak. He's amazing. Um, so there was that, and then for the gens, so I'm Gen X, and one of my colleagues, she's a Gen Xer as well. We're sitting at the table listening to him. He's like, for the Gen Xers, and and so I'm like, woo! He goes, oh my God, they always cheer for themselves. So I'm like, yeah, we're always forgotten. We were stuck in that, like, we were kind of stuck in between, and it was a hot mess. So, all joking aside.
I love that. And you know what I got from that beautiful, beautiful outline that you gave on parenting and how we're showing up in the world and our kids is this gift of awareness.
Hmm.
This just gift of awareness. I look back on how I was raised by a single mother,
Hmm.
strong and courage and what she showed me that I still see unpacking at 40. But we never talked about the hard stuff because she was working two jobs to keep a roof over our head and food on the table. And so I became a stuffer at a young age
Hmm.
because I didn't have the tools. And now at 40, with this work I've done, and she's 69, we were now talking about it. And God, what a gift it is just to even talk about it.
How beautiful.
Yeah, and I love when you were just as you were saying that, I just had this whole thought of awareness and the gift to have the conversations. What just a beautiful gift. Like we don't have to have it all figured out, but what a gift awareness is.
Yeah. It's one of those things that if I won the Mega Millions, how great would it that have been if one of the two of us won those, what was it, like a billion each? That
Girl,
would have
we'd be
been.
sitting on a yacht right now, we're drinking some champagne, recording
So,
this episode.
but one thing I would do with that money is create an organization that would go into school systems,
Mm.
like early education, and help kids understand how to be and stand in their place of beingness.
Oh,
And that's the coaching I'm going through right now. It's this incredible approach focused in on the ontological approach of being, which is really your beingness. Who are you, and how are you showing up in that moment in time? And so that's where we talk a little bit, like where I acknowledged you, how you when you walk in a room, it's what I know of you when you walk in the room. You don't even have to say anything. I can just see it.
mm.
Um,
Mm.
but how incredible would it be if there was a world where this type of conversation was being held with pre-K, kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, like these younger ages who are dealing with these very difficult life circumstances. They have zero control over it, but to be able to understand that they matter, they worthy, they are enough, they are a beautiful human being, and how they're created, whether they are, um, whether they are able to use all of their body parts or not.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Like, what a beautiful gift for us just to be able to accept ourselves or learn to accept ourselves or be taught the tools to embrace to accept ourselves.
That leads me, I had wrote this down a while ago, and I didn't want to forget to share this with you. And it beautifully segues into my question for you. You
Mhm.
beautiful damn gift to this world. Looking back on your journey, if you could take that DeLorean back in time to Kim Napolitano, whether that's 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 7 years ago, hell, last week, what would you tell her? What would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my 6-year-old self. So when I call forth my inner child, she's
Mm,
between 5 and 6. She's somewhere
mm,
around there. I would tell her that she matters, she's worthy, she's enough, she's smart, she's beautiful. She has a right to stand in the place of who she is, and it's okay to be different.
mm.
It is okay. In fact, if the entire world were all one flavor of candy or a cake or an ice cream, whatever you want to liken it to, how boring would that be? To know joy, you have to know sadness. Like Brene Brown does, she's got the dictionary basically of what the different type of emotions, what they mean. So in order to have happiness, you have to experience sadness.
Mm.
And instead of looking at sadness as a negative thing, could we? Matthew Ferry wrote this book on sales velocity. It's a great book. You can download it on Audible. It's like 2.5 hours. I mean, it's great. But it is the concept of, if we can just be in the space that there is no judgment on a situation, whether it's being furloughed or you got sick or someone broke up with you, like whatever the situation is, if we could just be in that
Mm.
space. And I know this is hard. Okay. I get the fact that this is not an easy conversation, but imagine a possibility where we could just be in that space and be like, this is not what the universe is doing to me, but for me.
Ooh.
And this is a perfect situation. I am where I need to be, how I need to be, why I need to be, and just be present with it, because there is a greater gift coming your way.
Oh, God, I love that. Girl, we could have a drawer full of bumper stickers with all the mic drop moments you have given us today. Oh my God, I thank you. And here's what I love so much, gang. I have to share this with you. Here's to the gift of being unscripted. As someone that has lived the majority of my life feeling like I need to come in with the answers to the call, that there needs to be an outline, that here's our objectives, and boom, 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 and need to all be hit. What a gift it is to allow for there to be unscriptedness. And Kim and I had said that this conversation with you all, this kitchen table conversation, is going to be just that, unscripted, two girlfriends talking. And it is my hope that you felt that, because I sure did. Kim, I want to ask you, my dear, dear friend, you had mentioned several times about this executive coaching that you're doing. Are you taking clients in this moment? And if you are, where can we inquire on working with you?
Yeah. So I do have to do 100 hours. I have to complete 100 hours of coaching through my training. So you can reach out to me through LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest way. My goal through all of this is to continue to grow as a leader.
Mm.
And I'm so blessed to work for an amazing company that I want to be able to bring these tools within the company to help my colleagues, my team members continue to grow and evolve in a way that's meaningful for them, up leveling what it is they do.
Awesome. And gang, I am going to link Kim's LinkedIn handle, I guess is what the kids call it, handle. I'm going to link that in the show notes so you can click on it and connect with Kim. She also posts really, really beautiful and powerful content on intentional leadership and conscious collaboration. And girl, thank you so much. Thank you. for the work that you've done on you and the beautiful ripple impact that it has in the world. Because here's what I want you to know: as someone who is grateful enough to hold your hand in this journey of life, it is a gift and it is more powerful than you know. I love you.
Oh, Megan, the feeling's mutual. I send you much love and peace of body, mind, spirit, soul. And I want to acknowledge you in this space for how you proudly, boldly, and unapologetically stand in the power and the need to say we're all perfect. And you
Mm,
have a tribesmen or women here who are here to support one another. So thank you for bringing your courage and your grit. And by grit, I mean the power of passion and perseverance. And it's just beautiful to be able to see, and it's giving people an outlet to connect in with like-minded people and to know that they are not the only one dealing with probably very similar conversations that are happening courtesy of our lizard brain.